Hey, what's up guys? Nate Mendel here with another video about LinkedIn automation. So what's really funny is that right after I posted my last video about LinkedIn automation using the Linked Helper Chrome extension software, really shortly afterwards I had received an invite from them to use their new version. So I was kind of critiquing and poking fun at their user interface, which looks like this. Pretty horrible if you ask me. They actually invited me to use their new version. So in 2019, they started developing a new, less vulnerable version of Linked Helper. And it has great new features such as automated drip campaigns with smart reply detection. Basically, when you're using a Chrome extension, there are vulnerabilities and there's more chances for things to go wrong. So they kind of conceptualized that in order for them to grow, they need to create their own program that runs independently. And this is what they have done. You know, they set out to create this, and they're very close to rolling it out. So if you're going to be checking it out, or if you want to know what it looks like, you could do so using this video. I just want to mention that I'm in no way affiliated with them as of now. They don't have an affiliate program, so I'm not really here making any money off of trying to sell their program. I'm just sharing what it looks like for people who already know about them and want to know how it works, or for people who want to learn about LinkedIn automation. I find them to be the most robust functioning tool out there right now. So that's really cool. So, they come from this, and then they sent me the invite to download their standalone program, and that is what I did. So I'm not going to go through the download and setup. Once they roll out, you'll figure that out. But essentially, I did a little bit of poking around in their new program, and this is what I'm seeing so far. First of all, user interface, much better. By no means is this program for a novice. If you're the type of person that struggles with navigating around Facebook or Google Drive or those types of websites, you're not going to have an easy time figuring this out. You'll have to use their tutorials and their step-by-step guides. But if you're a more robust, computer savvy individual, and you know the basic logic of user interface design, then you could probably figure most of it out. But anyway, the way that they had built this out was you have the program, right? And you set it up. You add an account. So here I added my wife's LinkedIn account, and then I added mine. So now we have essentially, you could have multiple accounts running through their software because this is their own software. They don't have to rely on Chrome and Chrome capability. They could do whatever they want. So you could have multiple accounts. And this is what I was testing here. I'm on their free license. I had attached the license. So the one license that they gave me for free for 1 month, I attached it to my wife's account. And that is what I was testing out. Really cool. You could add, more users, but you would have to pay for more licenses. So this is this section right here, LinkedIn accounts. So we have LinkedIn accounts, assign license, assign proxy. Linked Helper account. This is just your profile with Linked Helper. That's this tab right here. Licenses. This is a license tab, so you could purchase new licenses and then assign them or unassign them. So right now the one license that I have is assigned to my wife. I could unassign it. Proxies for people who want to get even more out of it, if you will. The entire program is already designed to mimic, as we'll see soon, human behavior. And this is why it goes unnoticeable by LinkedIn security protocol and algorithm, because it's mimicking human behavior and it's actually implementing the campaigns the way that a human would if you were doing it manually. As I discussed in my last video, these are the types of campaigns you want to run in your background or at night or when you're out of the office, because it takes its time doing it and it saves you hours upon hours. Orders and invoices, organizations. You can set up organizations and buy licenses for all your employees. Multiple machines. So really cool. So what we see here is their new user interface, which this is kind of like the top admin level This is the admin level of their new system. But if you want to get into the guts of it and start running campaigns, you have to do that by launching, right? When I press the start button, I'm going to be launching another window where I can work on my wife's LinkedIn account. And that's what I do right here. So we click start. It opens up a new window. And what we'll have in this new window is everything that we could do with her individual account. Okay, really cool. A lot smarter, a lot more robust than what we were dealing with in Chrome. Here they have a tutorial about drip campaigns. Really cool. And this is going to have, with this new launch, they're really going to be stepping things up with a lot of features and stuff. So again, I was poking around a little bit to see how some of the features work. They don't have all the features here yet. But essentially the way that it works is that you start with a campaign, right? So you have campaigns. If we go to campaigns here, we click new campaign. Everything you want to do revolves around starting a new campaign. Campaigns, you give it a name, and you give it a name that you can recognize. So for example, I gave this campaign the name Send Okie Pitch to First Connections. So what did I conceptualize before I started this campaign? I want to go to my wife's account. She has 4,266, about 4,200 connections. I want to send all of those connections a little Okie pitch, a little sales pitch. So I created a campaign specifically for that. So that's the naming part. You go here, you create a name for your campaign. And then you choose, what kind of campaign is this? Are you going to be extracting organization information, or are you doing things like inviting, messaging, following, visiting other people? Well, in this case, we will be people. So I create the name, and I press create, and then we press create. Once it's created, it looks like this. Here you have your name. You could always edit it. And here you have a description. So you could even elaborate on the description of this campaign type. Really robust, really interesting how they compartmentalize all of this and make it so effective. Once you have that set, you go to workflow. Workflow is their new system. This is the guts of it all. And you could delete this action. It kind of works similar to the way that Zapier works. It kind of reminds me of Zapier, the way that you set up these triggers and actions and all that stuff. So I added this trigger by clicking on the blue button. This action, right? Add more. I added the action, and what I had over here is something that looks like this. Now, first we have the general, then we have the message. So first things first, I had to choose what I want the action to be. And that was message first connections. The way you do that is when you click over here, it gives you all the options. And that's where I chose it from. They don't have all the options that they have on the Chrome extension yet, but they are going to. So over here I said message to first connections or group members, right? So I had selected this. That is how I got this. So it already knows what I want to do. I want to send all of my wife's connections a little Okie pitch saying, hi, we build custom websites for free. Check us out. Right? Because, your LinkedIn network, if you don't already know the power of LinkedIn, that your LinkedIn network is a powerful resource for lead generation. So you have all these people that you're connected to, but if you're not selling to them, engaging with them, letting them know that you're here, that you do this, who you are, then, it's kind of like missed opportunity. So this is what we want to utilize. First, I would recommend build up a strong network through engagement, interesting articles and posts, commenting, liking, all of that stuff. Engage with people, really get to know people on LinkedIn and build up a huge following. In my last video, we talked a lot about inviting people. So, you could connect to people with relevant stuff, people who you want to be connected to for various purposes and objectives. But a year or 2 or 3 go by, and now you have this large network. What do you do with all of that? So you want to kind of utilize pitching to them. And that's what you could do through messages to your first connections. So once we had the action here, I wanted to set up the message, so I clicked on this tab, message, you click on this, and over here you have this little editor. You could put a subject if you want to, and you write your little message. So I write greetings. I hope you're hanging in there during these turbulent times. Just checking in to let you know that if you need a website built, Oki develops custom websites for free. Don't waste money where you don't need to. In exchange for your loyal hosting, we will blaze the trail of design and development for you. Say goodbye to freelancers and building tools and say hello to Oki. All right, so this is a lot of verbiage that Oki has on our website. This is our marketing lingo. To learn more, visit oki.com. Looking forward, Sharon. As I mentioned in my last video, very important that you make stuff generic so that it applies to most people. Your messages will never apply to all people. A lot of people will realize that it's generic and that it's automated. People hate automated messages. I personally ignore most automated messages. I know it's not personal. I know that it's just a robot. It's a bot sending it out. I have no patience to engage with you, because if what you're writing to me has no value or relevance, I don't care about it. I don't have time for it, right? Unless you're there to talk real business, collaborate, create deals, or some kind of business dealings on one level or another, I don't want to hear from you. So always make sure the stuff that you write, the notes that you invite with, the stuff that you write, the messages that you write are generic. They should apply to as many people, preferably more than 95%, and they should be straight to the point. This is just my personal marketing advice. Engaging with messages like, I hope you're doing well. I want to add value to your thing. How's your day going? Those types of messages, I personally don't like them. I'm all about less talk, more action. So I don't have the patience or the wherewithal to engage with people and talk about my life. That's what I have a therapist for. Right? I don't want to talk to random people about my life. So unless you have some business ideas, ways that we can make money together, ways that we could collaborate together, or straight up, even if you're selling. So this message right here is selling. Okay, so most people will ignore it, fine. But you know what? I'm okay with that, because 4,000 people, when I'm done with this campaign, were reminded that there's a company called Oki, and they were reminded of my wife's name, Sharon. Now, a lot of people don't need a website right now, but in a year from now, when they do need one, it'll ring some bells. And this is how marketing works. So even if it's a sales email, a sales message to a direct contact, fine. But let it just be that. Don't waste people's time with nonsense and verbiage that is meaningless to them. People, especially on LinkedIn, for the most part, are there for serious business. Okay, so we have our message. You could edit that at any time and close it out. We have tags. Now, tags is a new thing, it seems. I don't really know, but from what I can tell, add tags to successfully process contacts. So I had put over here the word pitched, let's say. Pitched. So if I start a campaign and I start reaching out to people and we're 1,000 people in, I want to know which 1,000 were already pitched to and which 3,000 were not. This is what I think the tagging does. I'm not 100% sure, and that is how I had set it up. So we'll see. Delay settings is actually really interesting. This ties into the human behavior aspect, right? What it's essentially saying here is when the machine is going to navigate to the profile, it should be a minimum of 3 seconds and a max of 7 seconds. When the machine is going to click on the button message, it should be a minimum of 1 to 3 seconds, so on and so forth. You could modify this. And as we're going to see soon when I actually run this campaign, so you can see what it looks like on this new user interface, you're going to see how much time it takes to do each action. And this is in direct correlation to the settings here. So it's important to know that you can modify those settings here, but remember that LinkedIn has these algorithms and these security protocols set up to try to detect bots. They want humans engaging. They don't want bots engaging. So they set a protocol to try to stop software like this. Software like this gets smarter and smarter to try to outsmart it. So, it's just a constant game of who's smarter than who at which point in time. And that's another reason, that's one of the big reasons why these types of programs, whether it's Instagram automation tools or apps and stuff like that, this is why they often go out of date and they go out of business very quick, because from one day to the next, the big company could come out with a workaround, a software that blocks them, and it puts them in the ground. So while these tools exist, you have to take advantage of them. Usually when one goes down, another pops up. But this company here, Linked Helper, seems to be pretty solid. They seem to be doing a good job, and with proper brains, they could continue to outsmart, because as you'll see, this really just does human behavior. It just does it for you. And as of now, it's very difficult for platforms to recognize it. Okay, so that's it. So we have our action, we have our message. So very important part of this is the list. So up here we have the information of the campaign. The workflow refers to the actions it's going to actually take, and you can create multiple actions. And the list is the most important part. You can't start it without a list. Everything in this program, in this software, works with around the concept of a list. First, you have to build a list, because remember, just because you have 4,000 connections in your LinkedIn profile, this software doesn't care about that. It could interact, it could have a relationship with that, it could do certain things, but just the fact that it's sitting there means nothing. So you have to import it. So that's what I actually did. And with this new software, what I essentially told it to do, I clicked Add Contact, and it asks you to choose a source. And I went to my network page, but for the sake of this video, let's do a search page. It'll open up the account on the search page, and let's search for nonprofits. Let's search for nonprofits. It should be people, and it should be not jobs. We want people, nonprofit people, and we want it to be third connections. Okay, so here we have 3.9 million results for nonprofit third connections. We just created the filter. I could have and if I want to create a list right now, I could just tell it to start creating the list. Start collecting. You press start collecting. You give it a couple seconds to calibrate, per se. And what it'll do is it'll start collecting and keep track of it right here. Available 1,000, and it's starting to collect. Okay? I'm not sure why it's skipping. Let's see if it corrects itself. For some reason it wasn't collecting. Maybe I reached my limit for the day. I don't know. Maybe there's another reason why it's not collecting, but essentially that is how you would collect your list. Another thing is I don't want to collect another list on my campaign because I already have a list. My list is 4,200, 600 strong, and it refers specifically to my first connections. But that is how you would collect and create a list. Essentially, what I would do is I would create a new campaign, and we would say pitch nonprofits, let's say, right? Create, and then we would go to list and add contacts. And I would do that same thing. Nonprofits. Let's see if it'll do it over here. Remember, LinkedIn is always blocking you from doing too much unless you have these premium accounts, and even then, oh, there you go. See, it already collected 10. So maybe it was skipping it before because I already have a list. Maybe that confused the system. And again, this is in beta, so there's a lot to iron out. But as you can see here, it's going through this list. and it already collected 30. So this works pretty quick. You walk away from your computer for 10, 20 minutes, you're going to have 1,000 contacts collected. Okay? I'm going to stop this. So it collected 40. Now if I go back to campaigns, I have 2 campaigns here, right here. Bang, 40 contacts in the queue. Now you could go into this campaign and you could go to the list, just like on the Chrome version. You could modify, let's say these 3 people, you don't want them on the list for whatever reason. Maybe you know them, maybe you don't want to pitch to them. You can kind of just delete them. Yes, delete them, gone. There you go. So now you're down to 37. So, really simple. But remember, you have to have a list in order for the campaign to work. And the last tab is issues. This is where you'll have a list of your issues. So that's it. That's the main thing. Information, workflow, lists. Under the workflow, you have the actual actions. Let's go out of this one. Let's go back to this one right here. I want to send. So once you have all that set up, and once you know how to use this, you can set up, you can set up the stuff in 5 minutes. Granted, I'm 20 minutes into my video. That's because I'm sharing a lot of concepts and I'm showing you a new user interface. But once you know how to use the software and you know what you're trying to accomplish for your employees, for yourself, you could set up a campaign, in under 3 minutes. I mean, you saw how quickly I had just set this up. All I have to do now to finish it is go to the workflow. It comes standard with this. I would just deleting non-empty action. Yes, I would just delete the existing actions that it comes with. Start my own right here. Bang. What do I want to do? Group inviter, profiles, auto follow, or let's say I want to follow people automatically. I would create the campaign. I would go into the settings, so on and so forth. Within 3 minutes, you can easily have a campaign running. Let's go out of this. Let's actually show you what it looks like when I run this campaign, the one that I want to run. We go to OK. And remember, because of the delay settings over here, it's going to take time to do each pitch. This is why I keep on saying you got to do it at night. You got to do it when you're away from the computer. The brilliant part of this is that you're no longer on Chrome, so you're running an independent window, right? And if you want to run multiple accounts at once, you could. It'll just open a new window for each one. So that's part of the brilliance of this. All I have to do here is press start. If I press start, it's going to take me here, and you have a little timer here that keeps track of every action. So what is it doing right now? It's going into my list of 4,000, well, technically it's my wife's profile, but it's going into her list of 4,200 connections, and it's going to go to each URL independently, one by one. It goes to the URL. It scrolls through the home page. It waits a couple seconds so that it looks like it's a human experience. It starts typing a message. And you might not realize this, but I am not touching my computer now. What you see on the screen right now, the software is doing. I could just go back to whatever it is that I'm doing right now. I could go back to Chrome and continue working, and this is going to run in the background. What you see happening right now on the screen, the software is doing. It's literally mimicking human behavior by completing all of these tasks as a human would, with all the proper delays. So for a campaign like this, we might reach out to, I don't know, maybe 100 or 300 people. It depends. I'm saying we might reach out to 100 or 300 people in one day or in one evening, and you could set it up. All right, I'm going to stop it for now. So you see what it does. It's scrolling through. It's going to go back. It's going to click on message, and it's going to start writing the next message after it looks at the contact information for the person. Very human-like behavior. This is why this works against the protocols, the security protocols that they set up. If you want to stop it at any point, you could. So we just click here, stop running campaign, X out of this. Let's go back to campaigns. Over here we have it processed one. Now imagine I let this run for 10 hours or 15 hours while I'm out of the office. I come back the next day and my system reached out to whatever, a couple hundred people. And the way that I'm going to know is that I'm going to start receiving responses from these people because I have LinkedIn on my phone, right? So I'm on my phone, I'm eating dinner with my family, and I'm getting messages from people asking me questions about my business. They want to sign up. That's great business, right? This is the power of automation. Now you could set, let's stop it completely. All right, you could set how many you want it to do right here. Process per iteration, timeout between iterations. So you could say it should process 10 at a time, and then it should take a minute break, and then process the next 10. So you have control over all of that stuff. Really powerful, really amazing. Here, LinkedIn, it has some CRM options, collecting functions, dashboard will show you some data, settings, so on and so forth. So this is really it. Really cool, really robust. If we go back to the first tab, like I said, this is the main interface. Here you could add multiple accounts. And when if I stop this, it'll shut that down. It's going to close that down, right? So now we're shut out of that. If I want to run a campaign on any account that I have within my master account like this, we start it up, turn on the campaigns, let it run. I know on Chrome it preferred when the browser, when the screen was kept open, when the lid was open. And to learn a little bit more, maybe check out my previous video about Linked Helper. But this is actually great news for people who utilize LinkedIn and for people who want to take it to the next level. So hopefully this was informative. If you have any suggestions for videos or tutorials for specific topics of automation, workflow, organization, send it my way, and I might take some time out to record. Thank you again.